shares of Tesla today. They were surging on better than expected sales in the fourth quarter. Tesla delivering 6,900 Model S sedans. That's 20% more, the company said, than it originally forecast. But there's also a dust-up Tesla is having with the government about when a recall isn't really a recall. Amid all of that, joining me now is the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, and with us, CNBC's very own Phil LeBeau. Phil, start us off.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And Elon, thanks for joining us today from the company's facilities down in Southern California. Let's start first off by setting the stage for everyone. When you were putting out the tweets today saying that you object to the use of the term recall from the federal government, this has to do with a fix for the charging stations that you guys announced last Friday. You filed the paperwork with the federal government. It comes in and is listed on the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration as a recall, but you say that shouldn't be what it's tabbed as. You think it should be called simply a remedy or something other than a recall. Explain.
Sure. Well, the word recall is vestigial because in the past the only way to update the software in a car was for the car to be brought in to the dealership to get serviced, and they'd have to plug it in and update it. But all of the Tesla vehicles have an over-the-air update capability, just like your cell phone or your laptop. Effectively, it's a bit of a I mean, it doesn't make sense to call it a recall in this situation. It's an over-the-air update. So it's not a word that makes sense in the 21st century for the Model S. Now, I mean, I think there are cases where a recall, of course, is necessary when there's a mechanical problem with the car, and that requires the car to be brought in. But that's simply not the case here. I wouldn't sort of characterize this as, you know, us being at odds with NHTSA in any significant way. We just wanted to make sure that we clarified to customers that they don't need to bring their car in, that they could be under the wrong impression that they need to bring their car in, and that's simply not the case.
Elon, is this a necessary upgrade for people, though? In other words, is it an upgrade that they need and ought to make, in Tesla's opinion?
Well, the over-the-air update has already taken place. That took place last month.
The reason I ask is this. There's something very different between what you're kind of describing as a software or hardware upgrade and a bug or an issue or a problem that needs to be fixed. Which one is it?
No, I think you're creating a false dichotomy there. The remedy in this case was to do an over-the-air update, which we did last month. And obviously, bringing the car in is kind of pointless because the software has already been updated. So,
but it is a remedy.
You know, that's why.
Am I correct, Elon? Not to cut you off.
In fact, I mean, it's certainly a remedy. It's just that the word there needs to be a better word than recall to describe. Remedy would be certainly an accurate way to describe it. But I really think that that's the sort of that's the least important thing that was announced today. I think the most important by far is the fact that the demand for our cars in the fourth quarter was very high, and we actually exceeded our guidance by almost 20%, delivering 6,900 cars. And the key factors that we ascribe that increase to are the fact that people realize that our car is in fact the safest car on the road. It has the lowest probability of injury of any car. In fact, the Model S and Tesla is the only manufacturer to have no deaths or serious injuries. I mean, it's literally impossible to have a car that is safer than the Model S.
Elon.
And I think that was a key factor. And then also cold weather sales. That in Norway, for example, we have the highest sales per capita of any country in the world. In fact, for a few months in the fourth quarter, we actually were the most sold car in Norway. The number two was the VW Golf.
And that's certainly something that the market is rewarding you guys for today. They like the performance, obviously. I just want to go back to this point because some of the investors that I speak with about the sales figures say they didn't remember seeing a revenue projection when you're talking about beating that projection by 20%. Obviously, the deliveries are above what people were expecting, but can you comment on that language at all?
I guess, in our case, we have basically one product. So for us, deliveries and revenue are are very, very similar things. There's not a meaningful difference between the two. So we've got a wide range of products. We really just have one.
Elon, what's your production rate at as you are standing right now? Is it at 600 vehicles per week? Where are you guys standing at in terms of your production and what we can expect for 2014?
I think I'll reserve comment on those points for the Q4 earnings call, which is scheduled for next month. But I'm very optimistic about 2014. Our rough aspirations, as I've said before, are to be somewhere in excess of 800 vehicles a week by the end of the year. Obviously, we'll try to exceed that, but I'm confident we can meet that number at a very minimum.
And how important is it to stay in? I'm sorry, Phil. I was just going to say real quick.
No, go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead.
To stay an independent company here, because people love to talk about who could be a potential bidder for the Tesla.
I think Tesla's going to remain independent for as far into the future as I can imagine.
Phil?
Elon, one last question for you. What's happening with China? Have you actually started shipping Model S to China?
I'm actually very optimistic about our progress in China. So we expect to start shipping, putting cars on a boat essentially in about a month, and then we're hoping to make our first deliveries in China in March. We're not 100% certain, but we're hoping to do that. And I think towards the end of this year we'll see very significant sales in China. We've seen a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for the product. And whenever there's a sort of a tour group that comes by, the most enthusiastic people about our car are people from China. So I think that bodes very well for our progress in that market.
And the folks who have put down money for that. I should also mention, before I forget, one other thing I should say is that the right-hand drive version of the Model S will be coming out in April. So that's going to be important for markets like the UK, Japan, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and that kind of thing. Absolutely. I was going to ask for the people who put down a deposit for the Model X when they can expect to be driving that vehicle.
We expect a volume production of the Model X to be basically in the first half of next year. So we'll have, as with the Model S, the initial production starts off very slowly, but then it grows exponentially. So we're about a year away from the first Model X deliveries, and about probably another 3 to 4 months after that will be the point at which we do volume production of the Model X.
All right, we will.
And in terms of your work on the
go ahead,
thanks,
Phil.
Kelly. No, I was going to ask him just real quickly on the Model E in terms of the mass market model. Any update in terms of what kind of progress you're making there?
So key with the Model E, that's a vehicle that would be smaller than the Model S, but about half the price. Key to that is solving the large-scale battery production challenge, what are called the Gigafactory. Again, I'll talk more about that next month in the Q4 earnings call. But I'm very excited about our plans for a Gigafactory. This would be the biggest battery factory in the world by far, and we'd do it in partnership with some other companies, and it's shaping up really well. I'm very excited about it. We're making the final selection as to which state it'll be in the next month or so.
And the auto industry watching as Tesla continues to shake things up. Elon Musk, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Phil LeBeau, really appreciate it, as well as we watch an outperformer in